And welcome to the Flyers postgame show as the Flyers get a road win. What? They get the 5-2 win over the St. Louis Blues, and the road losing streak is over, Smitty.
Yeah, it's again, we were hoping that if there was going to be a win in this back-to-back, it was going to be tonight because tomorrow's going to be tough, and it's good to see a win. It's even better to see that type of win. That was a game where the Flyers came into St. Louis's house and pretty much took control from the very beginning of this contest. They expected the Blues to come back a little more energy in the second. They weathered that storm, then they weathered it again in the first 5-6 minutes of the third. So a really solid road win, and a lot of great things from a lot of these guys that again, Hayden Hodgson obviously coming out of nowhere. He's a tryout in general, but some of these guys that are playing different roles now here with the departure of Claude Giroux and Justin Braun, Derek Brassard at the deadline. Scott Lawton, Sean Couturier still out injured. These guys are taking on different roles, and they're excelling at them. So it's just a great victory all around.
Yeah, that's an all-hands-on-deck win. You got really good goaltending from Martin Jones. One of the things that's not been talked about a whole lot this year is the job that Keldon Delabal has done with both Martin Jones and Carter Hart and coming back. Both those goaltenders had a rough year last year, right? A lot of that was environment, we understand, but some tweaks to each of their game. I know Kim went out to Alberta this summer to work with Dustin Schwartz, and Carter Hart, and made some changes and tweaks to Martin Jones' games, brought him back in the net a little bit more, a little less ice, and both goaltenders have performed well. And Jones was a big part of the win tonight. Not to mention, the depth scoring they get. When you score 5, you're going to win a lot more games.
Absolutely, that's the way you got to go about it. And the of all the problems the Flyers have had this year, I'm not sure goaltending has been a problem ever. Maybe one game there might have been for each guy that they were off, and but on those occasions, the Flyers weren't getting the offense anyway. Goaltending is not the issue here in Philadelphia right now. And now that Martin Jones is here, past the deadline, we thought he might be on the move, but I don't think the Flyers are too comfortable with the health of their goaltending system overall. Yeah. The minor league guys have had rough years. Does he hang around for another year? It's on a 1-year deal. He seems to me to be a very good option for the Flyers moving forward, provided he doesn't want to go somewhere else and try to be a starter. We'll see how that all plays out. But yeah, it has been one of the bright spots for the Flyers this year overall, I think.
We talked so many times this season about this team finding a way to take something good out of a bad season. And now that the trade deadline's in the past, there's no pressure. The pressure is alleviated from this team because they're not going to the postseason. You can play with a free conscience, at this time. That's why some of these teams that are in these situations are always dangerous in that last quarter of a season. But there's a couple of players I want to point out in particular, and I want to start on the blue line with Cam York, because he's a guy that never played the right side. And Brian, I think he's been sneaky good in that top pair on the right side. Provorov's played well alongside him of late, and Cam York has not been any sort of liability there at all. I mean, he had one game where he didn't really switch on a play and ended up in the back of their net. But the active stick and the way that he's kind of assimilated to the right side and done so on a top pairing has been really impressive to me. And we talked about the one goal that they scored when he had the quick up to Hayes and that first pass that he's able to make. He's a deft passer, very good passer. And that makes the team play fast as well.
Right. Yeah. And then, we were discussing it back around the Ristolainen contract and just looking at the Flyers defense moving forward. The full expectation is that Ryan Ellis will be back next year and will be healthy, and will be able to assume the duties that the Flyers wanted him to handle this year. Now that you've got him, you've got Ivan Provorov under a long-term deal. You got Rasmus Ristolainen under a long-term deal. You got Travis Sanheim under a long-term deal. So
not yet. Sanheim's going to be up after this year.
Yeah, Sanheim.
One more.
That's what I was getting at. Was that if you're going to figure out where you're going to go, you got to find a place for Cam York to play. And
Yeah.
whether or not he can play the left or the right side is going to probably have a big big question mark on how you handle that moving forward. So this is the kind of stuff the Flyers need to use these last
Precisely.
19 games to figure out. So that's why they were hoping Ryan Ellis might be able to come back this year. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So they'll have to see what happens there. But they'll be able to take a look at a lot of different situations to position themselves headed into the draft, free agency, and all that.
Let's get to the BetRivers.com highlight reel. And the Flyers opened the scoring in the first period, 6:37 in. He was the player of the game interview. You just heard Tim Saunders and Steve Coates talk to him. Travis Konechny opened the scoring, picking up his 11th goal of the season. Yeah, great job of Konechny streaking down the wing there, down the left side. Not usually coming down the left side, but he'll take it as he gets that pass in the D zone on a great outlet pass from Kevin Connaught and hits him up the middle of the ice, and they move up with speed. Hayden Hodgson also picks up his first NHL point there, but he wasn't going to be done, Bry. Hodgson, he wanted to make this a real good story tonight.
It's really kind of crazy. I mean, you don't you probably write these stories in your head over the years, but I don't know that you ever expect them to actually come true or happen like this. I mean, my goodness, this guy's not only shows up in this first NHL game, but goal, assist, plays a part in a ton of stuff that went right for the Flyers tonight.
Yeah, including Konechny's second goal, which we'll get to in a moment. But before we get there, let's go to the Flyers' second goal. They open up the score 1-0, 6:37 in, but then at 14:51, they build on it. The aforementioned Cam York, good play here as well, and gets that shot off after Owen Tippett finds the late man, and it's Patrick Brown who picks up his fourth to give the Flyers the 2-0 lead. Good vision there from Owen Tippett to find the late guy in Cam York, and he gets it to the net, and Patrick Brown picks up the garbage, if you will, as Zach McEwen going hard to the net. Doesn't get a point there, Bry, but he gets a bench assist, as we call
it. Yeah, he gets one of those pats on the back from everybody because they know what he did. Plays like that tonight, and that's the teams that I think are most effective in this league are the teams that consistently generate some of those quote unquote 3 assist goals. You can't just rely on ordinary shooting the puck into the net all the time in this league right now. The goaltenders are too good. The defense on the good teams is too good. You've got to have guys providing screens. You got to have guys going to the net and making things difficult on the opposition's defense, and that was a quintessential example of it right there.
Yeah, sometimes it's not just pass, shot, score. It's not that clean.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot more to beat these goalies. It's a good point. We knew the Blues would come back in the second period with some push. They ended up on the power play, and they eventually did get on the board, cut the lead in half when Vlad Tarasenko, on his second opportunity of the period, is able to beat Jones. That makes it 2-1 early in the second, but the Flyers get that really important third goal in this game. This turns out to be the game winner, and it once again comes off the guy who opened the scoring at 12:04 of the second. It's Travis Konechny, his 12th of the season and second of the game. Yeah, 2 goals for Konechny, and a great play by Hayes, great play by York, puts the Flyers up 3-1, and then eventually St. Louis gets within 1 again at the 16-minute mark when that puck bounces over the goal stick of Martin Jones ends up in the back of the net. So we head to the third, Flyers just up one. And listening to the ESPN Plus broadcast as I was streaming it here in the home studio, Dominic Moore must have said 6 times that he fully expected St. Louis to take over this game. They did for about 6 minutes. Flyers bent, but they didn't break. And eventually they gained the 2-goal lead once again at 11:34. Here's the first goal of his NHL career in his first game. He's already got an assist. How about Hayden Hodgson, his inaugural NHL goal? I love the play that Hayes made there, Bri.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah. It's just a great overall look. All right. He rounds the corner, and even though you're at a point where you realize you're not going to get off a clean shot, the idea there is just to get off any shot, right? Just do something to make it a situation that the other team is having to deal with. I mean, he kind of makes something out of nothing there, the little pitchfork move is what enables Hodgson to come in and get that rebound. So instead of there's a lot of different options you can do there. You can kind of stop and peel off and try to go back out to the point, or you can try to make some move and get yourself a better angle. Now just get the puck to the net and see what happens, and that's what generated that goal.
Yeah, it's almost the way I would refer to it is you activate the goaltender by putting it into his pads, and you create all these different variables that could happen. And good on Hayden Hodgson for just kind of being a straight line player and going to the net. We saw him go to the net earlier. Didn't get a point on that one on Konechny's second goal. But then on this one, the puck's there for him, and he picks up his first NHL goal. For the guy to come into the game and, lead the team stretches this morning and walk out and have the lap and everything after, 7 different teams or whatever it is in the ECHL, playing in the coast where, let's face it, minimum wage is about what you earn. You got to really love the game to go that route and push through. And to have a 2-point game in your first NHL game, he's got to be floating.
You've got 3 and 3s. You got bus rides to, these godforsaken towns all over the place. Some of them are bigger towns than others, but the thing about doing what Hayden Hodgson has done here in the last 5 years is that it makes tonight seem that much better. I mean, it is one thing to be an OHL player or an NCAA player, whatever, be a first-round draft pick, and then go right to some seasoning in the AHL, but then mostly spend your time in the National Hockey League. I mean, getting on that plane today or yesterday, wherever, to go to I guess he didn't fly out with the Flyers, I guess, on the timing. I'm trying to think of this. The first time he gets on the Flyers team plane is
tonight in about an hour.
A lot better than the bus he gets on to go to Wheeling, West Virginia. That's what I'm trying to get at. Put it that way.
Yeah, he's used to 1-star hotels and trailways.
Yep.
The NHL is 5 stars and charters.
I mean, that's what makes the story so great. And again, I'm not quite ready to pronounce him a permanent NHL player and let's go on his career, but based on 60 minutes of watching this kid play, I really like the idea of him going to the net all the time while Owen Tippett and Wade Allison are shooting from everywhere.
Yeah.
It's starting to, you're starting to play around with things in your head that you've seen here in the last couple of weeks, and how they might combine to help the Flyers bounce back next year.
Yeah. The other thing too is, I mean, his per diem at the NHL level may surpass his pay in the coast. That's as crazy as it gets.
20 years, it's been 20 years ago. The United Hockey League got $26 a day.
Yeah.
I think it was 5, 7, and 12 or something like that.
Oh man, not good.
5 for breakfast, 7 for lunch, 12 for dinner, and have a nice day, folks.
Yeah. And don't let the old country buffet hit you in the gut.
That was big eating if you had a buffet.
Oh yeah.
You could get as much as you wanted.
You could load up. and eat like a gentleman.
Yeah.
At 17-20, the Flyers rounded out the scoring. Joel Farabee's 14th into the empty. Now, he wanted to give it to JVR really bad, but there was just a player there who was like, let's not risk it here. Let's just take the 3-goal lead and get the heck out of here. And the Flyers do. Let's take a timeout. Now, let's take a timeout here on the post-game show as the Flyers beat the Blues 5-2. We'll be back after this on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. Post-game show, Brian Smith, Jason Martinez. Flyers come away with their first road victory of 2022. How about a 5-2 win over the St. Louis Blues? Boy, it's tough travel tonight, heading from St. Louis to Colorado to the thin air, and you're going to take on the top team in the NHL in just about 22 hours. Eesh.
They are 14 points up on the Blues, which is astonishing.
Bananas, right?
You thought the night was tough. That's what you're dealing with tomorrow. I mean, there's they have some peers close to it in the East, but they are big up on everybody in the West right now. So it's it's going to be a rested team. They're obviously acclimated to the conditions, and the Flyers are not going to be either of those things. So we'll see what they can come up with tomorrow night. I know there was some chatter earlier in the week about Nate Thompson possibly being available for this back-to-back at some point. If they have anybody else on the trip that could play that is fresh legs, then that'd be nice as well. But we'll see what they trot out tomorrow.
Yeah, 11-7 is tough in a back-to-back too,
Yeah.
I mean, Colorado's 25-4-3 at home this season. I mean, They've lost 4 games in regulation of 32.
It's kind of insane. If anything comes with the 11-7 configuration, it's that the Flyers didn't have to tax their D quite as much as they normally would.
Yeah.
I'm looking for my trusted information, because I'm not too sure what I'm looking at on the Oasis site. The tracking site is correct, but popping over to it's 22 minutes for Ivan Provorov. That's a walk in the park for him. So obviously the Flyers are trying to spread out the minutes a little bit on D with the guys they had out there, and try to make sure that they tried to keep everybody as fresh as possible. Kevin Connaughton only played 9 minutes tonight, so hopefully they can put that in their pocket and kind of use that a little bit to their advantage tomorrow.
Yeah, and you mentioned this pregame. Colorado is laying in wait. They have not been on the road since March 18th, which is a week ago Friday, or a week ago tomorrow. And they were home on Monday against Edmonton. They got a 3-2 overtime win, and then they had a 3-1 loss on Wednesday against Vancouver. So they'll be home and rested and awaiting a road-weary Flyer team in Game 3 of a 5-game trip, and on the second half of a back-to-back in a time zone change, and 3 in 4. This is really a tough spot for the Flyers.
But after a win like this, hopefully that you can ride that a little bit. Use this to give you some energy going into tomorrow, especially the emergence of Hayden Hodson. Try to ride that, see if he can't do it again. I was flipping around during the commercial break. We were trying to kind of decipher this kid's history and where he'd been, and we knew he'd bounced around the ECHL, and we were talking about how COVID kind of got in the way for him a little bit and screwed everything up. Well, he actually had also a skate cut. Tony Andrikaitis, who follows or covers Lehigh Valley Phantoms, I should say, for InsideAHLHockey.com, was tweeting about this, and he was playing for Reading back in 2019. 7-inch skate cut, and he was in the hospital for 3 days, out for 2 months.
Wow.
So that's just one more thing that this kid has overcome to get back to where he is tonight. So that's another part of his history, and another thing that makes a night like tonight that much sweeter.
Yeah, no doubt. Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Good.
I had no idea. Tony. Yeah. So this is a guy that he has apparently Ian LaPerriere, looking at Mike Yo's comments after the game, Lappy has been championing this guy all season long, talking him up and saying, hey, we need
the drum.
And Mike Yo gave him kudos after the game for that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And wow, that's incredible. That skate cut story, that's like the biggest nightmare.
No, I know.
It scares me about the game, but nonetheless, the Flyers get the win here tonight, and does feel like there's a little bit of, the dawn of a new day. Not saying this team is good or anything like that right now. They got a lot of work to do, but there's a page turned, and I really get the sense that players like Travis Konechny, Kevin Hayes, we'll see it when Sean Couturier is back, but Cam Atkinson's a leader already, and Joel Farabee, that they want to grab a big piece of this. And, now that things have changed and, that trades have been made, these guys are going to take a big piece of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another thing that you use these last 19 games for, is not only to settle in, okay, we're going to look at this guy, we're going to look at that guy, we're going to evaluate what we have here to work with, but for the guys that are obviously going to be here, the veterans of this team that were maybe not the veterans 2 years ago, this is 19 games worth of them settling into new roles and getting used to how things are going to be next year. So that when training camp rolls around, you're not sitting here with this group trying to feel their way through taking over and taking on added added responsibilities and being responsible for things maybe even off the ice that they weren't responsible for before. Like you heard TK say after the game, that they always had Claude Giroux to fall back on, that he was always going to steer the ship the right way and make sure the guys were accountable and all that. Now that he's not going to be there to do that, it's going to fall on guys like TK and Kevin Hayes and some of these other guys that are now the veterans, and so they get 19 games worth of practice for that to prepare to take on those roles full time in the fall. So it all comes together here over these last 6 weeks as to how the Flyers are going to build for next year.
I think it's important too next year that whoever the next captain is, whether that's Couturier or Hayes or whoever it might be, right? I think it's important to put a letter on one of the younger players' jerseys, whether that's Konechny or whether that's Farabee. I think you put a letter on one of those younger players' jerseys.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't just you want the younger guys to feel like they have they have a piece of what's being built here. Not that
skin in it and a voice.
Yeah, just not that they're just here to to kind of be playing second fiddle to the older guys. You want them to make sure, you want them to feel invested really in what's going on, and I think that's the kind of culture that that Chuck Fletcher tries to build across the organization. Not just the players themselves, but everybody.
It's an empowerment.
Yeah, works on the hockey side of things. That they want everybody to feel like they've got a big role in what's going on here, and so that's definitely, I think, something you want to do next year is to start building that from the ground up. And then you've got you've certainly got the veteran guys. I mean, the Flyers are quickly, unfortunately, getting to the point where a lot of the folks that had the experience with the early 2010s playoff runs are not around anymore. So you're going to have some of those guys there to kind of lead the way through it. Couturier being the one that comes to mind first, but you also want to give the younger crew, if you will, give them a real stake in things, as opposed to just being, kind of all right, here we go, guys, you're coming along with us. Help carry the load as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the 3 stars of this game, Konechny with 2 goals, Hayden Hodgson with a goal and an assist, and Cam York with 2 assists in the game. Kevin Hayes also a multi-point performance tonight. Full value win for the Flyers, 5-2 over the Blues. And since the team's got quick turnaround, we've got that turnaround as well. So let's put a wrap on it. Flyers and
game notes. Here we go.
Yeah, you got that to do now. I got the podcast to do. The workday is not over. The Flyers will be back on the ice 9 o'clock on WMMR and the Flyers Broadcast Network. We'll pick up the pregame show on the stream at 8:30 and on the radio around 8:50. Let's thank a few people. Let's start with our in-studio engineer, Ryan Shuttlesworth. I'm assuming he'll be with us again tomorrow night. Mike Vito on highlights. For Tim Saunders, Steve Coates, Brian Smith, I'm Jason Martinez. You've been listening to Philadelphia Flyers Hockey, a 5-2 road win over the St. Louis Blues. We'll talk to you tomorrow for Flyers Avs on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. Good night, everybody.